We've only a few more shots to, reshot to get done. I think it's time for me to talk about the whole entire shoot. I think, what went on. I mean, the whole experience was is great. It was a lot of fun for a superhero movie. I knew the action would be hard and getting the stuff done and making a very domestic film is what I wanted. Was something very realistic. I was trying to create verisimilitude, and I think I've done that accordingly. What I'd like to talk about first, actually, is the props I used throughout. I mean, there was a bit of a trouble with it because we used the M1911s. I used a few of them. They're actually a main component to the story when the suit finds it in the alley, where he is then as the protagonist. I mean, what comes into the suit, and especially the locations we were doing it around quite busy areas. There was a subway we did where usually people go through under the main road. There was also around one of the alleys around the train stations where people come out from London, the commuters. So we had to put up a lot of signs. We had to warn people these were just fake guns. They were very light, and we only used I only want to use 2. I'm making very slight and keep it very discreet. Especially some of the other shots where I just included myself. I kept it at locations that were desolate, absolutely dead, very sparse too. Another one, which I suppose because of the prop, was the scarf we used as a bandana. Obviously this does cause a bit of upset for the public. I think the scarf, for a start, did sort of let that go down a bit, and again we put the film in progress, and it was pretty obvious in the thing that it was a scarf. I think they went to the whole sort of... I don't like the scarf because, even though the public did sort of feel a bit threatened, it wasn't exactly threatening because you see it's a scarf. And plus, it fits the whole normality of it. It's very, as you could say, very just crappy almost. But that's what I want, it's a crappy superhero. It's not someone like Spider-Man. No one was the phone. I just used Alan's one for that because he only used it in one scene, and that was meant to link to him organising the deal. But this is a theatrical trailer. No one's really going to know. I know the whole entire narrative, and what I hope and what I've done is a lot of the conventions and the props I've used, as you could say with the rucksack. The rucksack is a main component. You see him wearing it, usually after work. But one of the main scenes that I think I've brought up, and I think creates a lot of different meanings, is when he's sitting after he's been made redundant. And I then go back to that scene when he thinks he's made a mistake. So I'm really trying to make a lot with a little. That's the whole trailer. You can make a lot with a little. Another one's balaclavas. Again, another risk. And we need to assure the public because they were very threatening. More than the bandana was, with the scarf used as bandana. And not as much as the guns. I got this from the school. There's a department we used it for. So I made sure I got a few of them. And I think they just fit with the whole gangster feel. I could have gone for something a bit more realistic and, just have the normal mafia gangsters or the London gangsters, but I feel it was quite comical and absurd to use the balaclavas because they'd be like the old thugs that you might sometimes see in the old Spider-Man, especially in the Spider-Man games. You'll find them there, so I thought I'd use that. Costumes, I admit it was a great one, because mainly as it is the suit, it's called Suit, it's about this one hero. I focused mainly on Alan's, the protagonist's costume. For this I used my own suit, one I've also displayed in 30 Days Earlier, which I thought was very correct for the meaning for a businessman who had a tie. Of course, in the thing he has it undone, and he had the trousers and the blazer, and we kept the shirt untucked. But it sort of shows, I believe, when I wanted that for the costume, how he's just fed up really, because when he was at his job, he'd have it all tucked in, all smart, but you don't see that with that character. As soon as you see him, you know he's made redundant. So I just rubbished up the costume, especially as he's going to become a superhero. I thought he needs trainers instead of smart shoes. And of course the scarf went along with it. I think it just works very similar to, because it is, as you could see in Super and Kick-Ass, the way they did the costumes there for the superheroes were just sort of rubbishy, because they're not going to be as good as Batman's. Because they just don't have the correct skills, and this is what this hero doesn't have. He doesn't have the correct skills. He's just a normal man. For the gangsters, again, it really was just the balaclavas, and the rest was just dark clothing. Even when I posed as one of them. I had zipped up my coat, made sure it's all black, and keep the dark jeans and the shoes. And I've got a few actors to do this, and it all works pretty well, and I think no one's really going to notice because they're all pretty similar. Overall, I didn't really work too much on the costume. It was mainly just the suit, because he is the main guy. Now let's talk about the locations for my theatrical trailer. Sears is fairly domestic. I always intended for the place to be set in London. I did, of course. There's a few shots filmed in London, because the whole presence of it, so people can understand it's London. That's why I got various landmarks there, such as Big Ben. Also had Trafalgar Square around there, and also got some of the riots, which are well known back in 2011 from the teacher riots, of course. But I also wanted to keep it. It's around the working class, so I kept it quite a residential area. Mainly, I used round Rayleigh, Wickford. I think I also visited Billericay at one point, but I kept it very domestic so people can understand. It's almost a simple movie in a way. It's the superhero, because when you usually see superheroes such as Spider-Man, it's usually in New York City or sometimes Los Angeles. It's always the big city, or just like a metropolis, and that's all you'll see. You'll never see outside or the suburbs. It's always the big bit, and the rest is sort of left out. When this is realistic. So I've kept it very realistic. I've kept it in the areas residential. It's just like high streets. It's all the normal stuff people expect. And the target audience I'm aiming at, from the working class to around the middle class, will understand this. It's cartoonish in a way, like with the subways, but it's also just normal residential houses. My most concern for the shoot is what we had back in the AS doing 30 days earlier, is that you can never go exactly by the script or the storyboard. It never gets out exactly, because you don't simply know what's going to happen. So of course a lot of things have changed, and I worked around it, but I kept a lot of it the same. The cartoonish subway and the fight scenes. Horizon shot was perfect. I only think of it. You only get the idea when you're on the day. And luckily, with the other actors I was working with, Matthew Jones supplied the idea. And it did work really well. And it's just what I think it comes to the locations I used, and the place and the weather, all that comes up, and it never goes exactly to the storyboard, but I kept it quite linear. Other than that, the shoot was absolutely great. It showed me new things, new experiences. It's the whole ambience of everything that will change the film. That's what I've realised, that you'll find something different every time, and you'll never get exactly how you wanted. But in the end, you can get something magnificent out of it.